Macho Man Randy Savage, Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion, was in a state of shock when Ricky the Dragon Steamboat came back, yeah. But this time, in front of the largest audience in the world, I will not only embarrass you, not only pin you with the 1, 2, 3 count, but I'm gonna put you out of wrestling for good. Oh yeah, Dragon, I am the Lord and Master of the Ring, and you're gonna find that out, one athlete to another, right now. You can't be with me, no. History beckons the Macho Man, yeah.
My last opportunity. Randy Savage, the day has finally come. The minutes, the seconds, we have reached our moment. As you and I climb into the ring, we clash like two titans. But there will only be one winner. One winner, Savage. This dragon is breathing fire. This dragon will scorch your back. I will come away with the championship belt and see new horizons.
Welcome to Last Match Standing, the podcast where we review, relive, and rank the greatest wrestling matches of all time. As always, I'm Spenser.
I'm trepidatious.
And I was really looking forward to talking to Miss Elizabeth.
Well, it's very clear from this match Alvaro Savage would like to talk about Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, yeah. Ooh, how's your neck feeling there, Bobo? Yeah. Let's go, Elizabeth, yeah.
And we are coming to you from March 29th, 1987. It's the Pontiac Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan, and it's WrestleMania III. The Intercontinental Championship is on the line as the Macho Man Randy Savage defends against Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
WrestleMania III, built to be the biggest wrestling event of all time, record attendance inside the Silverdome, and a match card for the history books. We've covered the full WrestleMania 3 show on our Patreon exclusive Last Mania Standing spinoff show, and I have to say it definitely lives up to the hype in a lot of ways, not in small part due to this instant classic between Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and Macho Man Randy Savage, a match that young professional wrestling trainees have been studying for generations and will forever live on as one of the greatest of all time.
Listen, there's so much to get into. This match, Savage Steamboat, WrestleMania 3, inspired a generation of future wrestlers. It's one that is a staple. It's one that when we started this list, we knew we'd have it on it. But before we get into it, a couple of bits of housekeeping, if that's okay. First of all, a quick shout out to Ben, our friend Ben.
What's up,
on
Ben?
Twitter. We love Ben a ton, and he reached out to us on Twitter and he said something I realized. Speaking about the Bret Hart Mr. Perfect match that we've covered most recently, he said something I've realized. Bret had a trilogy of pay-per-view matches at Madison Square Garden at 3 different pay-per-views, all classics with Mr. Perfect, Owen Hart, and Steve Austin.
Yeah,
Yep.
That's really good stuff, right? Another really fun interaction that we've had is with our new friend Bruce, who reached out to us on Twitter as well.
Bruce.
And Bruce said, inspired by Last Match Standing, Last Mania Standing, I'm going to go back and watch all of the Big Five. I'm counting King of the Ring while it's around. Pay-per-views, starting with WrestleMania 1.
Bless you.
So basically, I'm going to be mad about Hulk Hogan for a while.
Poor guy's going to have to watch all that on Peacock.
Yeah, so Bruce, buddy, listen.
Sorry.
We are, first of all, thrilled that you were inspired by us to go back and do that. There will be some good things for you, and I hope you find them and you love them. But it's not all great, as you know. So anytime
Men on a mission versus the Quebecers. Here you
ready.
come.
Anytime you want to reach out to us and let us know your thoughts about how those Big Five are going for you, definitely let us know. And then one more quick shout out. Did you know we were on Instagram?
Excuse me?
We are?
We are absolutely on Instagram.
When did that happen?
A long time ago. You can follow us on Instagram at Last Match Standing. And we got a really, really cool message from our friend Grant, who wished us well. We recently had a hurricane here in Louisiana, if you know anything about that. Bad news bears. But Grant was super, super nice. He sent out a message and said, hey, listen, I know you guys are having a hurricane. I hope you're doing okay. But also here's a match suggestion if you'd like. And so he actually sent a really, really cool match suggestion. I'm not going to spoil exactly what it is, but it would be the first time appearance for both wrestlers, I believe, on our list. The match that he sent us. So,
well, you know what hasn't happened in a while? Match poll.
That's absolutely right. So definitely be on the lookout. I might post it on Instagram too. We'll post it on Instagram. We'll post it on Twitter. We'll do Facebook. Let everybody know when we're going to have our next Twitter poll, because as season 4 starts to, here we are in the second half, right, of season 4. We would love some interaction with you guys. Let us know what you want to see for the rest of season 4 as we head towards the season finale. As a reminder, if you want to be like Ben, like Bruce, like Grant, follow us on all of our socials. Like I said, Instagram is @LastMatchStanding. Facebook and Twitter are @LastMatchCast. You can also email us if you have any match suggestions, any thoughts on whether it was Mr. Perfect and Bret Hart or any of the other matches we've covered so far in season 4. You can do that at lastmatchstanding@gmail.com. Also, subscribe on YouTube. We post all of our episodes. You might be listening to us on YouTube right now, which we super appreciate.
Yeah.
Definitely subscribe there. We just want to give you guys as many possible options and venues to listen to us as you possibly can. So definitely subscribe, leave us a positive review. We would love that anywhere you can. That obviously helps things a lot. But you guys have always been the best set of listeners, and we just appreciate that you're having as much fun as we are on this ride. And I'm not sure if it gets much more fun than Ricky Steamboat and Randy Savage at WrestleMania 3.
You know what, guys? We did a brief retrospective on Steamboat for season 1.
Yep.
So this is the first time Macho Man has made it on a singles match in our list.
Can you believe that?
So you know what that means.
I'm ready. I'm so ready.
Story time with Randall Poffo.
Let's talk about Randy Poffo for a minute.
Let's do it.
In 1975, I'm not going to do the voice the whole time.
Well, he didn't do it until like 81, so I mean.
In 75, Randy Poffo was released by the Chicago White Sox. This his third unsuccessful attempt at a professional baseball career, having previously been released from the Cincinnati Reds, the St. Louis Cardinals. So how did he make it from warming the end of the bench at Comiskey Park to putting on the performance of a lifetime at the Silverdome 12 years later?
Well, his dad was Lanny Poffo Sr.
That helps.
I'm sorry. His dad is Angelo Poffo.
Yeah, well, let's go there, right? We're
We're going to
say,
cut the Lanny Poffo thing out. That's his brother.
Well, I think that's okay, Paul, because it's true. The Poffo family is no stranger to adversity. Randy's father, Angelo Poffo, very successful professional wrestler, and he instilled a sense of pride in sports of all kinds in his sons from a very young age. More importantly, Angelo taught his kids that anything was possible if you don't give up. And as evident by Angelo Poffo's world record 6,033 consecutive sit-ups that he set while he was in the Navy in 1945.
I'm sorry. What?
Angelo Poffo set the world record for consecutive
6,000.
sit-ups. 6,033.
I can guarantee I won't do that many sit-ups in my lifetime. Times 10.
So this is Macho Man's dad here. Okay,
Everything's starting to make so much
you
sense.
see where the intensity comes from.
Yeah.
Angelo Poffo also wanted to be a professional baseball player when he was young, but after getting knocked unconscious while at bat, he became pretty plate shy, and he decided to go into pro wrestling because that's the safer sport, obviously.
He also sounds like a great cook. Just that name, right? Feels like he's
Angelo Poffo.
great in the kitchen. He's got to be.
Mwah. Pasta minestrone, Angelo Poffo. I don't know. Randy broke all sorts of state high school baseball records, but despite this, he was overlooked for the 1971 MLB draft, likely due to playing with a 102-degree fever on scouting day. Although he did eventually make it on a few teams' rosters, a baseball career was just not in the cards. However, without his baseball career, he never would have ended up as the Macho Man. So here's the story. As Randy tells it, this is a quote from Randy. I'm at bat, yeah. And I guess he thought I was looking at his pitches, and the next thing I knew, He hit me in the face. I just ran out there by instinct, and I attacked him. Worked him over real good. Yeah. Okay, I won't do the whole thing like that. So the next day in the paper, some writer gets on me and says I was acting like some Macho Man. I liked that, and it became part of my name. Some fans put a banner in the outfield that said, "Hit it here, Macho Man." I kind of dug that. It was perfect for me.
I love that, first of all. Secondly, could you imagine if you were a baseball teammate of his and then you buy WrestleMania 3? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
That's just crazy.
Holy
crazy.
shit, there's Randall.
Yeah, Randy eventually realized he wanted to wrestle and play baseball. And so he
Can't do both, son. Can't
well,
do both.
he was
Tell
trying.
that to a Wild Thing, okay? Just want to say Pro Wrestling 225.
Shout out Wild Thing.
Yeah, how about that?
No, he coaches baseball.
Oh, well.
That explains everything. No, so what he ended up doing was he would put on a mask and he would moonlight as the Spider, which is literally a Spider-Man gimmick.
Oh, it is.
So what you're saying is when he plays Bonesaw in Spider-Man, that was a callback.
Yes. Macho Man plays yeah.
Bonesaw
Because
is
that's
ready.
how he got his start in wrestling, was he had a Spider-Man gimmick.
That's
so he was
incredible.
in the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie. So because Randy had to keep his identity a secret, because that's actually would have been in violation of his baseball contract to do so.
Makes sense.
After his official release from the White Sox, he decided to unmask and follow in his father and now brother's footsteps.
Leaping Lanny Poffo.
Randy spoke to the Tampa Tribune about his transition, saying, "I love baseball, but I kept hearing about my brother and my dad doing so great. I just wanted to get into it. You never get as much satisfaction out of baseball as you do with wrestling. In baseball, some skinny guy on the mound may, get you out, or maybe you hit a couple of line drives that are caught and you go home 0 for 4. You take all your frustrations out in wrestling."
Yeah.
In 1975, Randy starts wrestling in his father's IWA promotion and later entered the Memphis territory to battle Jerry Lawler for the AWA Southern Heavyweight Championship. 10 years later, Savage gets the big call and signs with Vince McMahon's WWF. He bought in as the hottest free agent in professional wrestling, with all of WWF's top managers vying to represent him. What a great storyline for a debut.
Yep.
And he declined all of their offers and instead brought in his wife, Miss Elizabeth, to manage him, as we all know. Over the years, his on-screen relationship with Miss Elizabeth would suffer a little bit, right? There's some dark moments in there, and there's some really great moments. WrestleMania 4 is wonderful. That they get married at one point. But all of that to say, it's really hard to picture Macho Man without Liz by his side. Savage quickly proved himself to be a star and cemented his legacy by defeating Tito Santana for the Intercontinental Championship by way of a hidden foreign object. Thus began one of the most illustrious Intercontinental Championship runs in WWF history. Many credit Savage with making the IC belt the workhorse belt that we know it as today. Savage originally was set to feud with Santana for a while, but the crowd response from his matches against George the Animal Steele led to a change in those plans. And he actually worked with Steele for more than a year through WrestleMania II and into 1987, with the storyline centered around Steele's infatuation with Elizabeth. What's crazy is, regardless of how over the pair was with the fans, Steele and Randy did not get along very well inside the ring. Because Randy, as you may know, is a stickler for planning out his matches, right? Start to finish, he wants to know how to get from point A to point B and tell the right story the right way. He was a perfectionist. George the Animal Steele, old school guy, never planned a thing before he got in the wrestling ring.
And it showed in his work.
And, well, I mean, nothing wrong with that.
No,
he was out there.
I'm not saying, oh, fuck George Steele, he's a piece of shit.
No, that's just the way that they wrestled back then. You go in there, you're a wrestler. I know how to wrestle. I'm just going to go wrestle. And Steele, it led to some friction. And so Steele would actually mess with him a bit too. It's pro wrestling. It's all about the ribbing the other guys. Well, Randy got extremely jealous about Liz. That was just the personality trait. He's a jealous guy. And so he would go up to George Steele because, part of what George Steele had to do was carry her away, pick her up. And so he'd go up to him after, "You've been grabbing her by the armpits. You feeling her tits, man. Don't grab her that way." And so George would say, "Come on, Randy. I have daughters older than her. I'm not worried about that. Come on. But then at the end of the night, George would leave, like right before he was heading out the back door. He'd go up to Randy and say, "Hey, I'm about to go score with one of those young broads for the audience. See ya." And he'd bolt out the building. Randy, just one of the best ever at adapting his style to accentuate the style of the babyface he was wrestling. And he took pride in that. He took pride in his ability to tell a story better than anyone else. And Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, one of the absolute best babyface salesmen out there. And it was a match made in heaven. They'd build it up by booking them in a match November 1986 where Randy would crush Steamboat's larynx with a barricade and then a ring bell. And over the next few months, they'd air these clips of Steamboat recovering in a hospital.
I have 25% of my voice back.
And actually, the doctors are shocked at how fast he's recovering. And then, all of this is credited to the heart of the dragon. January 3rd, 1987, Saturday night's main event. Savage would show up healthy and Steamboat would show up healthy and show Savage that he was gunning for him. Later that night, Steamboat went to Savage's hotel room and they started laying out the WrestleMania match. January, they started building this match. Steamboat said, "We were just using the yellow legal pad and writing down steps." And it got to like 100-something steps. Finally, when we got the match top to bottom, we would go and meet and quiz ourselves. And I'd say, okay, I'm at step 55. This is this, and it goes to this. Now tell me the rest of the match. And he would go, okay, step 56 is this, step 57 is this. And they go back and forth. Even Dave Hebner remembers working on this match with them for months just to make sure everything was right. Randy Savage handpicked Dave Hebner for this match.
I mean, he's a good referee.
One of the best ever. And he was just like, okay, if anyone's going to do this, it's going to be you. Just absolutely incredible. From the build to just the types of wrestlers that these two were. It was a match made in heaven. Even the promo beforehand.
There's only one man that can sum up this match, and that would be the genius of glory and renown. Isn't this wonderful? Isn't this great? Ah, but Danny boy, the pipes are calling. WrestleMania III, the Macho Man of glory and renown versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and George the Animal Steele with the lovely Elizabeth at ringside. This is wonderful. This is great. Now we go to ringside.
Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse the Body Ventura, of course, on the call for WrestleMania 3. You love to see it, right? And they were as great as ever in this match. Just one of the greatest pairs to ever do it at the commentary table. Just like you said, Landon, the pre-match promos were great between both Macho Man and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Although Ricky's kind of gets cut off by his music.
Ricky's is cut off a little by his music.
That's because they piped in what he came out to.
Right.
I didn't hate that, actually. It wasn't so much of being cut off. It was like it was leading into it. So.
The problem was he had gotten kind of softer, like Savage, you and I dun 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 tonight dun 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 WrestleMania dun 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 dun. Like,
but I love that he says, "Macho Man, we have reached our moment," right? They know what they're getting into. And Landon, when you talked about all that planning they did, like number 32, number 33, whatever, their main goal, the only phrase that was so important in their mind that was prominent was they wanted to make a championship match.
Yes.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And the promos get you ready. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat says he's going to come away with the championship belt and reach new horizons. Macho Man says he's going to put Ricky the Dragon Steamboat out of wrestling forever.
And they both mention the Intercontinental Championship in their promos.
They absolutely do.
It's just the respect that they had for that belt made you respect the belt.
Yeah.
Funny how if you build a match around the belt and not just around the two guys in the match, that the belt seems like it's actually important.
But what's so interesting is that there was enough personal story here where you didn't need the title for it to still be intriguing. But the fact that they brought it all back to the championship, despite the injury to Steamboat's larynx, right, and despite the play between Steele and Elizabeth, it still was about who was walking home as the better man, as the champion.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely. So I just want to say before we get into this match that this is 1987, and we're in the North America. You did not see matches like this in the WWF or for America. If you want to see a match like this, you need to go to Canada, Japan, parts of Europe, parts of Mexico. So for the most part, American audiences had never seen anything like this before, especially from two heavyweights. This is a pretty much start to finish. It is lightning fast paced, and they just don't stop. And they build the match around false finishes. That's just not how matches were built in the WWF. So, yes, this match is fantastic. It's phenomenal. And it outshines everything else on what's like one of the biggest nights in the history of that company. And no small part to the fact that the crowd was not prepared for this.
Yeah, this is a match with 22 false finishes. 22, right? Which is bonkers. But it's not overdone still in this match. It's one, I mean, obviously, WrestleMania 3, you know what people talk about, Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant.
There's one pinfall in that entire match.
But Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant is what people talk about when you're asking people, hey, what do you know about wrestling? Or, you know, what do you know about WrestleMania 3? Or what are the biggest moments in wrestling history?
Hogan's like the fifth guy to actually body slam Andre, but no, the wrestling exists, so he's the only one to ever body slam Andre.
Right, but when you ask wrestling fans and professional wrestlers what they remember about WrestleMania 3, it's Savage Steamboat.
Oh, yeah.
And for good reason. This match goes just over 14 minutes, and the entrances are great. And you know why they're great? Because they come down on those mini rings going down the ramp. They're tremendous. And the best part about them getting these little mini ring entrances is those ropes have to be opened up by none other than the Federettes.
I was wondering we were going to talk about the Federettes again.
The Federettes! I'm not going to miss an opportunity to talk about the Federettes. Come on, Paul. They were great.
They were great.
Yeah. But Ricky the Dragon, Macho Man Randy Savage get in the ring in front of over 90,000 people in the Silverdome and put on one of the greatest wrestling matches of all time.
So the cunning Randy Savage targets the neck of Ricky Steamboat.
Why wouldn't he?
While the Dragon wears down the arm and shoulder of Savage. You might ask why. I said, well, it's because Ricky Steamboat has the best arm drag in the history of professional wrestling. Fight me.
It's not even close.
It's not even close.
It's glorious. I could watch him just do an arm drag all day long.
There's a reason why he's a three-peat on our show.
Man, Ricky Steamboat, we just finished covering on Patreon WrestleMania 25, right? And so if you remember at WrestleMania 25, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat had a match. It was a 3-on-1 handicap match against Chris Jericho. And Steamboat's arm drags looked great there in 2009 when that man was 58 years old. If you want to listen to our coverage of WrestleMania 25 and all of the WrestleManias up to that point, it's on Patreon. Absolutely go there. Plenty of great things for you to do and content for you to access if you become a patron. We're grateful for all of that.
The pay window, baby. Woo!
But point is, Ricky Steamboat, to be as good as he was in 2009, is only because he's just on another level here in 1987. The arm drags are otherworldly. But what I love here is that even though you're absolutely right, Savage is going after that neck, that throat area of Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, what Jesse the Body Ventura mentions is he's never seen the Dragon this aggressive.
I don't think anybody had.
And I love that because if you know anything about Ricky Steamboat, it's that I love what Ric Flair said about him. He was the fans wrestler. And so he's not one that's going to be, really over the top aggressive. But the match starts with the arm drags, and then he picks up Randy Savage in a choke.
Love that.
In a choke.
I love that because it's finally, it is Ricky Steamboat sort of getting his payback for what happened to his larynx.
Yeah.
But they don't linger on that, right?
No, they don't.
They do let it kind of come back. They give him his moment, and then they have the championship match.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
The high crossbody by Ricky Steamboat.
Oh, so good.
Oh.
And actually, sort of before they get into the true action of the match, the detail of Savage seeing Elizabeth's positioning on the outside and getting out of the ring and walking Liz over to be just ever so slightly farther away from George the Animal Steele. Get her as far as distance as possible, reminding you he's there.
Yep.
I loved that detail.
Yeah, really, really simple, but perfect, right? Just really, really perfect. Because it also tells a really, really interesting story about Randy Savage having to focus on more than just the match.
Yep.
Got a lot of things on his plate.
Exactly.
So what is his focus truly on?
Right. Steamboat actually spends a lot of this match on the outside, on the floor, from Savage tossing him over the top or him whatever happens, right?
I did enjoy the running high knee that sends him out. Falls out backwards.
Mm-hmm. Savage, brutal high knees. He absolutely will hit that high knee from time to time. He hits it multiple times in this match and just absolutely catapults Steamboat forward. Steamboat is able to get back in the ring, and he's actually able to gain momentum for really one of the first times in the match because Savage gets tied up in the ropes. And they make a really, really good point, Jesse Ventura does. He says if Steamboat was a classy guy, if he had any class, he would back up and let Savage get out of the ropes. And as a face, that's exactly what you'd expect Steamboat to do. But he doesn't.
Not what he does.
That's not what he does. He strikes Savage while he's tied up, and the crowd loves it.
Oh, anytime Ricky Steamboat gets any offense, all of the women in the crowd lose their minds.
Yeah,
you can hear it.
They do.
You can hear it.
Absolutely they do. But how interesting that they're telling the story where Steamboat can get away with that.
Yeah.
And it makes sense.
Because of what's happened to him.
Exactly.
Because of what he's gone through. I love that. And you can hear the excitement in Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse Ventura as the match goes on. How much wrestling have these men seen? And they know that what they're seeing is special.
Nothing is more special than Macho Man hitting the top rope axe handle to the outside, then doing it immediately again in the ring.
Yeah, those double axe handles from Savage are big time spots, big time moments, and they come right after he hit a second high knee to get Steamboat over the table, over the barricade, into the front row of the crowd.
Yep.
And so things are really looking kind of bleak for Steamboat at this point because Savage has all the momentum when you pair the double axe handles there.
A moment that I really like is Macho Man hits the ropes, runs over, and then hops over a top rope, grabbing Ricky Steamboat's neck and pulling him down over the top rope. It's one of those things of, man, if you didn't know that he had injured this man's throat, you're definitely going to know about it now.
You know now. And Savage is in full control. He hits this absolute textbook suplex on Ricky Steamboat. And Gorilla Monsoon has a great line here. He's talking about Steamboat's ability to still fight back after taking all this punishment from Savage. And he says, "This is beyond wrestling ability. This is guts personified."
And about this point, we get those false finishes. And, of course, every time Steamboat kicks out, the crowd is whipped into a frenzy.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's the Silverdome. It's 90,000 people.
So you hear
this is no small feat to get that many people excited.
And then I do love the Steamboat does the sunset flip pin, and Randy reverses it into a small package. So Steamboat reverses it into a schoolboy. So then Savage reverses that into...
Amazing.
And
you didn't see that a whole lot.
No, you did
No.
not see that. Where they just do 12 different types of pins.
Especially when you watch this match, if you watch WrestleMania 3 as a whole, right, and compare this to the other ones, the pace that this match has
Is incredible.
It's crazy.
It it feels like it's not of its time. It
This is
feels
a
like
New
it
Japan
should be.
match.
Yeah, absolutely. It feels like it either shouldn't be in this country at this time, or it should be 10 years later or 20 years later.
It should have been the main event.
It should have been the main event. That's obviously another conversation for another day, but you're absolutely right. And it's hard because Hogan Andre, the Slam.
It's a huge draw.
Yeah.
Okay, anytime you put Hogan Andre on a card in 1987,
yeah.
that's gonna sell out a 93,000
It is.
person stadium. It just is.
But these pin attempts back and forth are just crazy. And so in an effort to try to sort of break that streak and someone trying to gain control, like full control of the match, the ring post comes into play, right? So Steamboat's actually able to catapult Savage into the post. Savage then uses the tights of Steamboat to toss him into, like, shoulder first, in between the middle and top rope into the ring post. And then Dave Hebner gets collided with,
Yes.
and things start to change.
Not before Macho Man hits the best elbow drop in the biz. Fight me.
It's pretty damn good.
But unfortunately, Hebner is down. Macho Man goes and grabs the ring bell, but Steele's like, "No, boss, give me the ring bell."
And I love the reintroduction of the ring bell because when he grabs it, everybody remembers what he's able to do with that thing.
Steele says no. So, Macho Man goes for a scoop slam. But what happens, Spencer?
Steamboat is able to reverse that scoop slam into that inside cradle, that small package.
Beautiful.
Dave Hebner's back, counts the 3. It's quick as a hiccup, and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat is the new Intercontinental Champion.
And to quote this match, I think a quote that sums this match up better than anybody else could. "This is horrible, Monsoon." Jesse Ventura.
And I love that Gorilla Monsoon, it just in that moment talks about how this is one of the greatest matches he's ever seen. And Gene Okerlund is quoted a million times after this match as saying it's the best thing he's ever seen in person and all of that stuff, right? Like, those guys knew what they did in the ring was instantly a classic, and they knew it the second that match was over. And the interference from George the Animal Steele made sense, and so I'm not mad about it, right? He's trying to protect Steamboat. The ring bell was about to get used again, so he tosses Macho Man off the top rope. You know, the camera shot to Miss Elizabeth just being, you know, totally beside herself that Savage lost, didn't know what to do. You know, like, it was just a story that was really well executed and a match that is as close to flawless as it gets in terms of what they planned out and what they accomplished.
Absolutely. It was just incredible. And just knowing how meticulous that they were with coming up with every single step in the execution, you could tell. You could absolutely see it.
Yeah, and again, it's 14 minutes. It's WrestleMania 3. It's 1987. You know, it's not the 60-minute Ric Flair time limit draw. You know, it's not necessarily... like, if this match would absolutely work today. It would absolutely work today. But for them to do what they did in 1987 on the super card that is WrestleMania 3.
They paved the way for so many.
So many. One that comes to mind is Chris Jericho. I mean, he says it in his book, right? That one of his books, that he wanted to be a wrestler ever since he saw Steamboat and Savage at WrestleMania 3. And can you imagine the number of wrestlers that would agree?
And how many people have told us, when are you doing Savage Steamboat?
Over and over again. Absolutely.
Today's the day.
Episode 71. I'm just...
And this will not be rated 71. It'll be much higher.
This will not be last place. Spoiler alert. It cannot possibly be last place. But really, really grateful to be able to cover, to review, to relive this match with you guys, because it is one that absolutely inspired a generation of wrestlers. And it's one of those matches that sort of reminds us why we like this to begin with, why we're so passionate about it, because you've got two incredible characters telling an incredible story, and they do it with some of the best athleticism in their time. And it's impressive from top to bottom. Do you have a favorite moment in this match?
The gut wrench suplex.
Oh, it's a beautiful gut wrench suplex.
You would.
And you would.
Oh, yeah, me enjoying a suplex. Who'd have thunk it?
I love everything that Randy Savage does in this match. Watching the division of attention, right, between what's going on the outside, what is Steamboat doing? Okay, the referee is down. Okay, and the flawless elbows and double axe handles from Randy Savage. Just watching him think through this match that he had built with Steamboat was poetry in motion.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm actually going to say the 22 false finishes because as a whole. Because
the crowd certainly loved them.
Yeah, the crowd loved them. It's not something that you're used to seeing at this time. And to be able to get a consistent shocked kick-out reaction from the crowd when there's that many pin attempts, just really special stuff. Really, really special stuff. Now, I don't want to do this. Even a little bit. And this will be one of those moments that a lot of people will have opinions about one way or the other, regardless of how this goes.
Well, see, here's the thing. I do want to do this.
Okay, so we're going to...
Great, so Paul started.
Yeah, so Paul's going to start ranking, but I just want to say, as we go into this ranking portion of the show here, as we rank Savage Steamboat WrestleMania 3, you, the listener, if you have thoughts about this, tell us. Let us know. I mentioned earlier in the show, but on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, at Last Match Cast, at Last Match Standing, you can absolutely find us. Let us know if our ranking compares to yours. We're 70 matches in, right? So we have to compare this match to 70 others, and I would love to know where you think it falls.
Please help us.
Yeah. As a reminder, just for fun, as things stand right now, I'm not going to go through the whole list, but number 1, Triple H Shawn Michaels SummerSlam 2002, and number 70 TLC 1 from SummerSlam 2000, and then we've got 68 matches in between that. So plenty to compare it to, but Paul seemed giddy to go first.
Very giddy.
So Paul, after you.
So when I try to rank this match, I have to consider that quite a few of the wrestlers on our list would have been one of the wrestlers inspired by these two. So you have to take that into consideration when ranking it. You also have to take into consideration the fact that it's a flawless match, and it's fucking amazing. So, therefore, I would rank this as the new number 11.
11.
Yes.
So that 11 would put it
just above
John Cena and CM Punk from Money in the Bank 2011. And underneath, Hokuto and Kandori, which makes a lot of sense, Paul. Paul, our Joshi gatekeeper.
I do love Joshi.
That's a really tough one to beat. I agree. Let me just say, my floor for this match, because this match was absolutely meticulous, and it's rare to see something executed this well. It reminds me of matches like Cena Michaels and Walter Tyler Bate. But definitely...
That's where I started.
Yeah. It's because it definitely has the edge over things like a Tiger Mask and Dynamite Kid, which was flashy and
it was
fun.
But they didn't really tell a story.
And it wasn't captivating like this was. And it was, I guarantee you that Tiger Mask and Dynamite Kid inspired a generation of guys. I guarantee you it did. But there was just something special that happened in Pontiac, Michigan that night. So my floor is going to be around 17.
But where's that ceiling, Landon? Where is it?
I'm going to be honest with you. My ceiling could go all the way to number 1. I would be happy putting it anywhere in that range.
1 to 17. Okay. I will say that I agree that because of the impact that this has, one of the things that we talk about when we rank these matches is legacy. That is one of the things we talk about.
This has a legacy.
And this has as big a legacy as any match on our list.
Absolutely.
No doubt about it.
When you talk about the best matches in WrestleMania history, this is like in the top 3.
So this is our 13th WrestleMania match to make an appearance on our list. 71 matches in, this is our 13th WrestleMania match. The highest of which is Bret Hart, Steve Austin at WrestleMania 13. Followed by, that's number 3 currently. WrestleMania 17, Rock and Austin sits at number 6. Hart and, Bret and Owen from WrestleMania 10 sits at number 7.
The Brothers Hart.
And then our next WrestleMania would be Eddie and Ray, WrestleMania 21, sitting down there at 24 on our list. So for comparison's sake, in terms of WrestleMania matches, it's going to be better than Eddie and Ray at 24. I agree. I think it has to be in our top 20. I think there's no denying that. So that would put it above Styles, Loki, Jerry Lynn, and Psychosis from TNA 2002. Landon, I agree with you a lot about Tiger Mask and Dynamite Kid and Walter Tyler Bate, like these matches that are meticulous, these matches that set out to prove a point and do. And so I would put them over that. It reminded me a lot of Sabre Jr. and Will Ospreay, just in terms of...
Me too, yeah.
Yeah. It just,
really great comparison.
Yeah, I really feel that way in terms of them doing something that is next level, and having a sort of chemistry that you just don't come by often. And making a belt mean something, by the way, as well. Like, I think that's important to note, too. I would put it above... If I'm going up the list there now, 14 is the triple threat at Unbreakable, Styles, Joe, and Daniels. I'd put it above that. I'd put it above Joe and Punk from Ring of Honor. I'd put it over Masawa Kawada. I sit... Man.
This is where it gets hard. That's why I stopped there.
This is where Paul stopped, right?
Because it just got too difficult.
Yeah.
Cena and Punk at Money in the Bank told one of the greatest stories in pro wrestling history. It's why CM Punk is getting the reaction that he's getting right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so is that a more important moment in wrestling history than what happened at WrestleMania 3 with the Intercontinental
Maybe in
Championship?
more recent history, but I think overall, I don't know.
Overall,
I'd say no. Overall, I'd say Savage Steamboat is a more important moment. But this list is not the most important moments of all time.
True.
This list is the greatest wrestling matches of all time.
True.
Punk and Cena do more in the ring than Savage and Steamboat do here.
Okay.
And in my opinion, let me just say, in my opinion, Savage and Steamboat
I agree
do
with that.
a lot of things, but it is inevitable. 1987 versus 2011, things will be different.
Yeah.
And that does not automatically mean I slight the 1987 match at all. I mean, look at where Steamboat and Flair is right now, number 4 from Wrestle War 1989, just a couple years later, right? So I am in no way docking points for this match because it's from a different era. But although it is fairly flawless in terms of there's like just no mistakes.
No.
there's less there.
There's less there. And it's 14 minutes, which is good. And it's a fast 14 minutes. It's a
Very
fast 14
fast.
minutes. I think I would settle, I think I would settle at number 8. I would put it right below Brett Owen and right above Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate.
Okay.
That is where I stand. I am obviously not concrete there because I am welcome for debate.
And I
don't want to argue.
I am going to argue a little bit. The more I think about the match and the way that we've been just ranking things from the beginning, you look at all aspects of what matches are. I almost stop at 13, where we have Samoa Joe versus CM Punk. And I really feel like if that match had not gone 60 minutes, Spenser, you might agree with me, that they're able to do in that match some incredible things. And just remembering where they are, right? This is Joe Punk to ROH, and they build meticulously an incredible 60-minute match. And I think that does more for the indie scene, maybe, than what this did for the overall pro wrestling scene.
Okay, that's fair.
I think there's an argument to be made.
Ooh, that's a hard argument
It's
to
a
make.
really difficult argument. So I would be more comfortable putting it either at 12 or 13 than 8.
Okay.
I don't hate that. And here's why. I do think when I look at Flair Steamboat, for instance, that's 60 minutes. That does so much more than this does in 14. When I look at Joe Punk, that does so much more in 60 minutes than this does in 14. They tell a beautiful story, and it's executed on another level. But I think you have a really, really good point that there are other matches on our list that accomplish more, in part because they're given more time. And had Savage Steamboat been the main event at WrestleMania 3, had it been 25 minutes and
different
not 14.
Story. Totally different story. Who knows?
Yeah. So Landon, I would be super content with putting it at
12?
12 would be putting it above Masawa and Kawada. And Joe and Punk. I was actually okay putting it behind Joe and Punk, putting it in between 13 and 14. So the new number 14.
14.
I'm good with that.
I think that's where it belongs. That feels right to me.
Number 14.
Paul's just not going to argue at all. He's like, yep, okay, let's do it.
Well, it's like, what argument do you make against that?
Well, Paul, you said 11.
Well, because I was in the moment. I always overshoot and you guys talk me down.
Well, I don't want to talk you down, but I do feel like this feels right. Just given where they are. And look at that. Randy Savage, his first time in a solo one-on-one match on our list, and he jumps all the way to the top 14.
Yeah, I think he'd be happy with that.
Special moment between two of the best to
Special
ever do
match.
it. Special match. Guys, let us know how you feel. 14 out of 71. Did we lowball this thing? Is it too high? Do you think it should be a little further down our list?
No.
That's for you to decide, and that's for you to tell us, right?
Back your own damn list.
And if you haven't seen Savage Steamboat, boy, I'd be surprised.
Watch it.
But give it a watch. Absolutely give it a watch. Super curious what you guys think about it. And we have some really, really cool stuff coming up for the rest of Season 4. A great season finale that I'm super pumped to tell you about when we get closer to it. But definitely be on the lookout to our Twitter for some Twitter polls coming up because we absolutely want to get your feedback on what you want to see for the rest and what you want to listen to for the rest of Season 4 because we've gotten some really, really awesome match suggestions over the last few weeks, and we'd love to toss them up to you guys to see if you think that they deserve spots on our list.
Definitely. So keep an eye open for that. Also, over on our Patreon, if you join us at the very lowest tier for just $1, you get an extra vote on those polls. Higher tiers give you access to exclusive Patreon content. We have an awesome last trivia standing series right now that's totally interactive as well. If you join us at the highest tier on Patreon, you get to come on the show and challenge us and challenge each other with trivia. And wrestling trivia is so much fun. But also, last Mania standing. Spencer just said we covered during this episode we covered the WrestleMania 25. That episode's going to be our next coming up in that series, and much more to come. We really hope you join us over there.
Yeah, and Landon, you mentioned the extra vote on Patreon for these Twitter polls. I can't tell you how often the Patreon vote has decided it for us, decided what our episode's going to be because the Twitter poll was so close.
Yeah, and you get that extra vote for just $1.
Just $1. Yeah, absolutely. It's great. It's absolutely a useful way to do it. But
or 89 pounds. Wait, no, 89 pence. Sorry. Yeah, 89 pounds. No, pence.
However, the currency transfers. Whatever works. Either way,
I'll give it away for a hug.
Absolutely. Super stoked about the rest of Season 4. Cannot believe we just covered Savage Steamboat from WrestleMania 3. Cannot wait to see what's next. Until then, I'm Spencer.
I'm Paul.
I'm Landon.
And this is Last Match Standing.